Well, you know what they say. Potatoes may be full of starch, but in certain situations, you may end up fried. Hey folks, MasakoX here. The likes of Babidi aren't really that known for being quite benevolent, kind, or even merciful. Nope, in Dragon Ball Z, the Potato Wizard was quite the cruel and nasty individual, dispatching his minions when they were deemed useless. However, he would end up being deemed useless in the eyes of Majin Buu in the original. Yeah, he met a sticky end. However, in our world, we believe that any character has the chance of becoming a better person, even if it means they don't become wholly good. They can at least wind up being an improvement as to where they were in terms of their moral fiber and code, as well as their sense of duty and niceness. So today we continue our thought process about what might have happened had Babidi, the little wizard that could turn good. In the first part of this story, Babidi was spared losing his head at the hands of Buu after one too many slurs thrown the genie's way. Goku was the one to give him a reprieve, but not for noble, just, or right reasons. Nah, he deemed Babidi as not worth the bother of Buu sending off to the next dimension, deemed useless by another person. Once Goku had to go back to the other world though, Piccolo was the one left in charge of the mage's care.
But no, he wasn't gonna do that.
Instead, he used the Martha against Babidi and sealed him away, until he could find another way to deal with him. In there, Babidi had nothing but his thoughts. He was left to fester in his cruel nature. Wait, that doesn't sound conducive to turning good, Masako. Well, hold on folks, this is where it gets compelling. In the end, Babidi was let out, into the Room of Spirit and Time, and facing a variation of Buu that he hoped he would never have to see in his lifetime. And he'd had a very long lifetime. Super Buu was in his view, and he was only brought out to specifically deal with him. Oh dear. No pressure then, my little spud. In the midst of this rather horrific sight, Babidi had wished that he hadn't been let out of his little chamber after all. The wizard was absolutely shocked. By some chance, those fools, they brought about the absolute worst case scenario that he and his father Babidi could have ever hoped for. The chaotic nature of Buu was now starting to be brought to the fore once more. Gone was the softer and less crazy one. In fact, Babidi almost longed for that larger iteration despite his childlike demeanor. The mage was both smug with how these fools messed up, but he was also freaked out with being the one tasked to tame this beast. How did he end up like this? Babidi held his potato head as if he was in great pain. He was right. This whole thing was a great pain. Piccolo, though, cared not for Babidi's woes, only for a way to stop this thing.
I don't know the details, but he's changed. Do you know anything about it? Can we somehow exploit something about his weakness? Or do I need to put you back in your bottle?
Babidi desperately wanted to say something. Something that would make these peons feel absolutely small and inadequate in letting Buu power up like this. But he stopped himself before spouting out more rhetoric. He quickly realized that maybe all is not lost. Something in the back of his mind rose up to the surface, which gave him a semblance of hope to cling on to. He had some rather vivid memories that were initially implanted from Babidi, his father/teacher, or whatever you could construe as a parent. It dawned on him that this Buu wasn't Buu's original form after all. There was still time to stop this demonic creature before it went full chaos mode. But it didn't stop the concern that Buu had gotten closer to that facsimile. Still though, Babidi still had some tricks that might at least prevent Buu from changing again. Maybe he could turn the tide back in his favor. Yeah, he could seize control over the monster again and continue on with his conquest like nothing had happened. Make these goody-goodies pay for subjecting him to that humiliating prison. Piccolo was getting tired of having no answers being forthcoming.
Wizard, I asked you a question. Start talking. We don't have much time for your grandstanding.
Babidi tried his very best not to smile with glee. He'd gotten this green man over a barrel through his own follies. He chose to help, but not out of kind.
Oh, nothing that I can think of right this moment, but I can still stall him if you want.
Piccolo scoffed. He didn't like the sound of that idea.
I'm not sure letting you work your magic that much over there is a good idea. That thing was a beast to contain before you got here. Besides, he's still asleep. I had to evacuate everyone else except us. The boys need to finish their training now.
Babidi rounded on Piccolo.
Finish their training? Who? How long do they have left?
About half an hour,
Piccolo mentioned nonchalantly.
Half an hour? What can they do in...
We're in a time chamber. Things work differently here.
Oh, now things were starting to make more sense. Why the air was so heavy and the atmosphere so intense. This was a time chamber, and quite the sturdy one at that. Babidi was, internally, quite thrilled to have finally wound up in one. He lamented himself for not figuring this out before now, that he had to ask the Green Man for clarification. He had heard of the legends. He was even sure that the Galactic Patrol had one knocking around somewhere, training recruits in record time, accelerating their virulent spread across the galaxy and space. But again, he had never seen any as impressive as this one. In short, he was geeking out right now, and indeed, he could see the two runts who were, sure enough, training. However, Babidi was not assured. Does this Namekian truly believe that they can take on Buu with two whelps at the forefront? It was a very tall order. But no matter, if they can at least last a few minutes, they'll be a good enough distraction for Buu. And when he would re-engage his clever plan... Sadly for him though, his time geeking out about space and time is cut short when Piccolo drags both he and Babidi out of the chamber. The boys will be stalling the creature for some time. They need all the training time they can get. They're on their own. The Namekian preferred to have an eye on Babidi up close, leaving the boys to train solo, and to ensure that the wizard didn't try anything funny on them. The Namekian wasn't giving him any chances, but when they got out, things looked incredibly desolate. The lookout looked like a complete mess, an utter tip. It seemed that before the evacuation had commenced, Super Buu had fought some very strong people on this very lookout, maybe even killed a couple of those fools in the process. Probably quite a lot of fools. Babidi knew that this power had to belong to Buu. Oh, that Buu was so good. If only he was under his control. He couldn't wait to subjugate Buu once more. So, he waited restlessly until it woke up. This was what he was promised all along. Not that round ball of idiocy, and he was far enough away from the mad form to still take orders. He hoped. Yeah, this was the Buu that would pave his way to victory. And despite this grand plan, Babidi had not planned to hide his emotions this time around. His face was contorted into an infantile smile, which Piccolo noticed.
Why are you giggling? This is not something to laugh at!
I am not. I'm just coughing. My throat still kinda hurts after you manhandled me. Did you really have to be that rough?
Piccolo chose not to answer that. After the 30 minutes were over, Buu had woken up right on time, demanding a challenge. After seeing Babidi though, he grinned. He hadn't expected such a pleasant surprise.
Oh, it's you. Buu told you to stay out of Buu's way. Potato Man is foolish!
Babidi steeled himself up, safe in the knowledge that those boys would come to his aid.
Yes, it's me, Buu. Remember your old master?
Super Buu looked down at him with sinister mirth.
Oh yes, and Buu will mess you up real good when I'm done with this first challenge. Buu warming up!
Babidi gulped loudly, despite his bravado, while Piccolo tried to save the situation from descending into past dramas.
Why don't we, take the scenic route to the next challenge?
And as such, he started stalling for time. As much as the Namekian was bumbling around right now, Babidi had to admit, he was pretty good at this whole routine. He was very good at being able to talk Buu down out of anything impulsive. Perhaps he could have subjugated the Green Man before he made himself known instead of Spopovich and Yamu. He would have been very effective if he had. The wizard was then thinking about his end of the bargain, a way of catching Buu unawares and binding him to his side with a spell. But there was really no good chance to do so. He was quite lost at sea. Finally, the creature started to grow very impatient, the sight of his former master starting to lose his interest, and he demanded to be taken to the chamber at once to see the two Saiyan runts. Piccolo and Babidi had to oblige. They had managed to get a decent amount of time to pass though. When the boys were ready, so was Buu.
Buu going to enjoy challenge.
At once, Buu attacked the light-haired one, Babidi having figured out that that was Vegeta's kid, but he was shouted at and told to wait to the side in order to give the boys some time to give Buu a proper challenge.
Buu, don't giving time to boys! Show me challenge, now!
And so they did. They performed a rather strange dance and formation before then touching fingers, and then light issued forth from them, and they became one being. That was interesting. Something that definitely got Buu's mind racing with thoughts and joy.
Oh, Buu like this!
Gotenks was born. At first though, Babidi wasn't that impressed by that kid showing off, but almost jumped back with terror when he saw that there was more to this gimmick than had met the eye at first. They could do some serious damage to the monster. No more than that. They were actually beating Buu. How? How did those twerps become so powerful? Those kids were what, like 9? But Buu had managed to regenerate, despite being on the back foot. Buu had an answer to everything, and he was loving this challenge. He had been promised a good fight, and a good fight was what he was getting.
Buu glad promise was delivered. If not, Buu would have blown up planet.
The fusion looked shocked at that statement. The planet was that close to being destroyed? Well, there was no other option. Gotenks decided there and then to blow the door to the chamber to pieces. At first, Buu was confused. Why did boy blow up door? But Babidi knew. He knew what that meant, and he was devastated.
What? What have you done?
Gotenks chose to answer for him.
We trapped you with us for eternity. You're not going anywhere. No! I don't want to be trapped again!
Babidi yelled, accompanied by Buu's screams when it dawned on the monster as well that he was staying put.
Shut up! Deal with it! Your days of terrorizing innocent people and worlds are over.
Piccolo sat down and began to accept his fate. But Buu wasn't so willing to give up. Buu had stood up, popped out his chest, and ripped one. A dimensional hole, effectively making a door or exit to Earth through his own sheer frustration. And not only that, but this, Gotenks, had transformed into the same form as Goku had a while ago. This cheered up Buu a little bit, as everyone evacuated the chamber through Buu's portal and back onto the lookout. The two then fight in the sky, with the fused warrior almost destroying Buu thanks to this sudden boost in power. Sadly, as you may be familiar with, the power of Super Saiyan 3 isn't really something to rely on for the medium to long term, but the monster was busy regenerating at that time. They'd managed to get a reprieve. This was Babidi's time to shine.
Pa-ra-pa-pa-pa! You are mine, Buu!
Babidi attempts to control the monster during his regeneration, his only shot of assuming dominance once again. After regeneration was complete, Buu seemed to have become rather absent-minded, slow, and he turned slowly toward Babidi.
Yes, yes! Now, follow my orders, Buu! Finally, as it was meant to be!
Buu smiled. A terrifying smile. It hadn't worked. Buu had been toying with the wizard all along. Without saying a word, he simply flicked his finger, thus slamming Babidi into the nearest mountain. Piccolo then found the wizard impaled on a rock.
Well, that didn't work out well for you, did it? Was that your attempt to betray us? I don't understand what Goku saw in you.
Can you blame me?
Unexpected turn? No. Can I blame you? Yes. Now you can see it for yourself. You can't control the thing. Nothing can. You either work with us and try to survive this onslaught, or we all die.
Haven't those fronts diffused?
Piccolo mulled over that.
If we can give them some more time, they can do it again. This might be the end, but I'm willing to give it a try. We don't have any other options right now.
This should have been my glorious day.
Oh, spare me the ruling the world monologue. I outgrew that many years ago.
Suddenly, though, a new challenger appeared. Someone that Piccolo was pleased to see. It turns out that Goku's oldest son is alive and well, despite being thought to have perished in the earlier chaos that had surrounded Buu's initial arrival. And not only that, but he seemed more powerful, even without the golden hair. Super Saiyan thing or whatever Babidi heard. He was almost as powerful as that Gotenks was with the long hair. Babidi is absolutely shocked when this Gohan person forces Buu to self-destruct. They also find a loud-mouthed individual, someone whose power was nothing like Babidi had seen before. but for different reasons. He was called Hercule, and he seemed to be very angry with Buu for
Breaking his promise.
as well as another Namekian called Dende, this one being the Guardian of Earth, whose home that they had just been on and had just been trashed.
Buu's not really known for keeping his promises. Trust me.
Hey, Potato Man, aren't you a bad guy?
Hercule takes a battle stance.
We call a truce. For now. Gohan, you think you could take the monster? He's regenerating right now.
I'm sure, Mr. Piccolo. I got this. But after Buu regenerated, he challenges Gotenks again. The heroes agree. If the boys would go all out, they can destroy him. But before the fight can even start though, Buu gets the jump on them by absorbing them along with Piccolo. Oh yeah, he could do that. Babidi almost forgot that. Oops. And now this Gohan person was being overpowered. And oh, he's absorbed as well. Great. Babidi was now alone in the match against Buu.
So, I suggest we all run.
Babidi tells Hercule and Dende as Buu smiles in their general direction. The three of them attempt to flee. Before Buu can launch an attack on them though, someone else appears. It's none other than Son Goku. But why is he holding an earring? The situation seems dire. Can Babidi somehow turn the tides of the Z team in their favor? Or is he going to backstab the team again? Well, you're going to have to wait for the next part, as that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. But what do you folks think? How will Babidi prove that he's no longer the enemy? I mean, will he even bother and still try to take over the universe anyway when all this is over? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!